MCPs is a hot topic in AI coding. They allow you to connect coding agents like Codex, Claude Code, or Cursor to thousands of external services. For example, you can connect your coding agent to Jira, and then coding agent will mark your tasks as done, will read descriptions, or you can connect your coding agent to GitHub, and it can open pull requests, it can answer some comments or make comments, and do this automatically. And this all sounds very cool, but it's not that simple. MCPs are actually making generated code quality worse. They slow down your agents, and they also make you spend way more money. In this video, I'll show you why it happens, how it happens, and what you can do about it. First, let me quickly explain what is an MCP. So your coding agent, it is basically a chatbot similar to ChatGPT, and it has a number of tools, kind of functions that it can execute. By default, these functions are usually search for file, list files in a directory, read file, write file, modify file. These tools are designed to work with your local files. MCPs, which stands for Model Context Protocol, they allow you to add external tools to your agent. So when agent does something, it can see these tools, it can decide to use them, or you can ask the agent intentionally to use any tool from the MCP. So one MCP usually might have multiple tools. Let's look at this GitHub MCP server. This is an official server from GitHub. And if you scroll down, you can see available tools here. For example, if you click on Git, you'll see Get Repository Tree, which is a tool which has some parameters. And if you add this GitHub MCP to your coding agent, then the agent will have this tool and will be able to execute this tool. Pull requests, add comment to pending review, create pull request, list pull requests, merge pull request. Again, so all these tools will be available to your coding agent, which sounds amazing. So your coding agent will be able to do all these things automatically. So you can ask it, for example, list me all pull requests. It will understand then that it needs to use list pull request tool, and it will call it with all these proper parameters. It will generate it automatically and provide you with the result. Now let's open Claude Code, which is a great coding agent, and see how MCPs are affecting the context of the model. So in Claude Code, there is a command called context, and you can run this context in order to see what's inside the context of your LLM. So you can see that in total, Claude Sonnet by default, it supports up to 200,000 tokens, token being usually 3-4 characters, so it's kind of half a word, sometimes it's a word. So this is like a technical engineering limit for Claude Sonnet. And running this command, we can see actual usage. So we have system prompt, 3,000 tokens, system tools. These are tools like modify files, list files in a directory. So you can see that 14,000 tokens are spent on system tools. As a free space, we have 137,000 tokens. Now let's just remember that we spend these much tokens on every request we make. So we ask model to implement a feature, and with every request, it will use all these tokens, and you will pay for all these tokens, right? Now let's add GitHub MCP. If you want to add GitHub MCP, you can go to this link. I'll leave the link in the description, and then you can follow the instruction of how to add it. I've added it previously. Let's go back to Claude Code and type MCP. You can see we have GitHub, which is disabled now. Now let's turn it on. Enable. Now let's run the same command context. Okay, now you can see a lot of tools started with MCP GitHub. They all were added to the context. Now here you can see that MCP tools, and we spent 29, so almost 30,000 tokens on just GitHub MCP. So I've added one MCP, and now with every request, I will spend 30,000 tokens on that, even if I don't use it. So each time you ask model to do something, you'll spend all this context. So what it means? First, you will pay for all these tokens. Obviously, if you use API key, you will pay directly. If you use your subscription, then you'll pay by usage. So it will spend more usage. Second problem is that despite model supporting 200,000 tokens, the more tokens you give it as an input, the more the model is confused. On every request, it has to spend some computational resources on these MCP tools, even if it doesn't need them at that moment of time. And this overall might reduce quality of your generated code, and it will make your agent just slower. Now imagine if you decide to add like 5 or 10 MCPs. So you'll end up spending a lot of context for just defining these MCPs. Now, what you can actually do about that? It depends on the use case. Let's consider multiple options. So for GitHub MCP in particular, I think there is no need for MCP at all. Okay, I disabled GitHub MCP. Now you can see context. So we don't spend anything on MCP. But because Claude and Codex and Cursor, so whatever agent you use, they usually have the tool bash. So bash tool, which can interact with your command line. It can execute commands in your command line. Usually in the command line, you have tools like gh and git, which can interact with GitHub. And so what you can do, you can just ask your agent to do something about GitHub. So for example, what is my last commit? And you see that it decided to execute this git command. We can allow it to do it. Okay, and you see the information about your last commit. Now let me ask, describe what I did in the last pull request on GitHub. Okay, again executing git command, yes. Now it wants to execute this gh command, pr, list, repo, yes, cool. And now you see that my last pull request merge was at Claude Code GitHub workflow, what I did, key implementation details, so it even summarized. So you see that you don't need MCP for GitHub at all, it just all works out of the box. The second option, how you can handle MCPs, is just by turning them off when you don't need them and turning them on when you need them. So in order to do that, in Claude Code, you go to MCP and you can click on the MCP and enable it or disable it depending on your needs. Obviously, this requires some manual work, but at least you won't spend your context on things you don't need at the moment. Despite the fact that there are thousands of MCPs and they make your agent truly agentic if you add them, it's a good idea to think twice whether it's easier just to go and mark your task in Jira as done manually instead of spending valuable context of your model on it. This was all for today. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time.